Hello and welcome back to this series on Dust and Glory. It's a joy to be journeying with you this Lent. My name's Gary, I'm part of a community here at Urban Abbey along with my wife and also my 2-year-old daughter who has a particular skill at waking up in the middle of the night, presumably to pray. But it's definitely what we're doing sometimes to survive those moments. But it's a joy to be sharing with you, and like all the other reflection times we've had together, we're going to be starting the time by becoming aware of God's presence all around us. So much in the busyness and the chaos and all the things that go on in our day, it can be so easy to lose that focus, that kingdom perspective that shapes our lives. So let's take a few moments now to just still our hearts, still our minds, and become aware of God's closeness to us. Yeah, God, thank you for your presence all around us. Thank you that you are Alpha and Omega, your beginning and the end. As we enter this time, we enter with the confidence of your love and your goodness surrounding us and following us all the days of our lives. Amen. Amen. Well, as you'll know, we're focusing this week on the extremely popular topic of failure, which I think just as a topic for anyone can cause fears or anxieties or concerns in life. But we're journeying through it together, and this day we're going to be looking at a passage from Mark. It's Mark 14:66 to 72. So it's a bit of a jump in time from Jonah, but not as far a jump in the alphabet. I've got a small little section to read out, which summarises the key parts. It says this: "But Peter denied it, saying, 'I do not know or understand what you are talking about.' And he went out into the forecourt, and a cock crowed." So to find out what he's denying and also what the others are talking about, you'll need to read the full passage for that section. But this is a really great story for us to think about failure, because I think there's probably nothing worse or nothing more scary that people can experience in their minds sometimes, which is that identity of I am a failure. I feel like I am a failure. And when that thought comes in, that can feel heavy. It can feel like a garment that's kind of laying on you or resting on you, and something that you just can't shift or move or budge. It feels like a label that's become tied up to the core of your identity. And one of the challenges with that is that so often we go through experiences where we might fail or something goes wrong, and we seem to make this jump and leap really quickly, if you're anything like me, from I failed to I am a failure. I failed to I am a failure. And that's a huge jump that dives us into a falsehood about who we are and our identity. Because life is so much more complex and nuanced than that. There's a journey of ups and downs and joys and struggles and challenges and celebrations and so many things that go on. And actually it's somehow in the flow and in the pattern of that we actually live and move and have our being. And so when we have that in mind and we come to this story of Peter, we come to a situation where Peter has denied Jesus. He's denied him 3 times. And he's even denied to Jesus that he's going to deny him. So he's just a guy who really likes denying. And as he's doing that, I think that idea of I am a failure, like I'm failing, and that becoming at the core of who he is could so easily sweep him. And also when we read it, it might be that we think, well, that's quite a big, dramatic, almost cinematic moment in time, like leading up to the crucifixion, and Peter's there denying, and there's the kind of moody atmosphere and the lighting from a fire. But actually, when you think what's at the heart of this story, of Peter not doing something he said he would do. And it's also a story where Peter is going against what he believes or his values and what he thinks. And actually, when we think about our lives, how many times we sometimes caught up in doing something or not doing something we said we would do. Or also whether we're caught up in doing things which are against our values or what we believe in. Yeah, it kind of comes a lot more real in those moments we might think of. But the beautiful part about this is that for Peter, he is the foundation of which Jesus says he's going to build the church. And that's not an identity caught up in failure. That's an identity caught up in grace, caught up in forgiveness, caught up in love. And actually, those are the things that can cling to us. Those are the things that can lie on us like a garment and can wrap and surround us and keep us warm in the right way, is the knowledge of God's love in and through you. And so for you today, and I think as a reminder for me, that when we experience those mistakes or times when we get it wrong, and that thought seeps in, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, then may this also be a reminder to open our hearts and minds to hear the voice that you are enough, that you are loved, you are valued, you are good, as God said over his creation. So we have a time of reflection now, and it's actually a little activity which you can do. And what you can do is make a list of the things you think define you. So there's an example here of it might be builder, nurse, artist, son. I'm not sure if that's all for one person, if it's a very talented son, if so, which makes you feel more like a failure. Also mother, carer, runner, singer. There might be a whole host of things that make up your identity. So I'm just going to leave it for a few moments now. You might want to grab a piece of paper and a pen, or use your phone, or if you're viewing us on a device, just start to type out just what are some of those things that define you and define your life. And now as you're doing that, this final question is to reflect, how do you think God defines you? And you might be continuing to write, you might have just a few things on the list there, but take this stillness in this moment now to think, how does God define you? What are the words, or the pictures, what's the identity for how God defines you? We'll take another moment of stillness. As we close this time together, there's a prayer for this week, which I'll read out for you now. Lord, I know I'm a sinner. I rejoice that you sent your only Son to die for my sins, that I might be redeemed and saved by your love. Amen. And God, I just pray a blessing over everyone who has watched this video. I pray that they will know that they are loved, that they are defined by your love over them, not by their mistakes, not by their failures or doubts that creep into their minds. May this day be a day full of strength and energy and hope and love for all that you have planned. Amen. Amen.